Yo, what's up, guys? It's your boy T,
And it's your boy D.
And it's your boy Jay.
and this is Unquoted, your number one source for pop culture commentary. Let's get it today, guys. Okay, so today's subject, guys, is does rap have an age limit? So essentially, I don't know if you guys are familiar, rap has always been known as a young man sport. So essentially, when rappers are young, they come out, they're very hot, like NBA Youngboy right now. The Migos that come out, they're super, super duper hot. And then what happens over time, they get a little bit colder, they get a little bit all right, and then it's just kind of like they've kind of aged out. And it kind of seems like once our legends get old, they tend to be thrown away. So what do you guys think about that?
I mean, I wouldn't say that their age is the factor. It's more like their style is the factor, and there is usually a like huge influx of new rappers coming in. So unless you're at the top like consistently, like Drake, you will most likely fade away, and that's just how it really is. What a what a older rapper can like do is like it's like try to switch up their sound and like try to stay current, and then they would stay in the like spotlight, because other than that it's like we're in this drill type sound, and then you're still rapping like 50 Cent from '03. That's just not gonna go well, you know what I'm saying?
Facts. What do you think about that, Jay?
I would say like rappers can rap up to a late age, like to their 40s, but it's like Father Time is undefeated, so Father Time is gonna get everybody eventually. So like even that applies to rappers. Like you would think a rapper would be able to last for a very long time, and I think they could, but eventually like you kind of run out of ideas of how to mix it up, unless you like a culture vulture like Drake and is always gonna go to find that new culture that everybody's gonna fuck with. And if you're an A-list artist, I would say like you could go probably like 3 or 4 years without dropping an album and people still recognize you as one of the GOATs. And then you put out something every 3 or 4 years, just like Drake, J. Cole, or Kendrick will sometimes go a long ass time without putting out anything. But once they do put it out, everybody's listening to it. And then they back on top in the game, and everybody's talking about them when their album comes out. So I feel like once you make it to that A-list status, you can kind of go like a longer period of time without consistently putting out music, and everybody will still fuck with you. But if you're like a B-list artist, or you're a young and up and coming artist, you got to kind of put out an album like once every year, at least one a year. And then that's like how you really stay up on top of the game. And then you got to do that over a long period of time to get to that A-list status. But then again, Father Time's undefeated, and some people will get very high in their career, have fall off, and then you can make a comeback later on. Look at Tyga, look at Lil Wayne, comeback city right there.
2 Chainz.
2 Chainz. So like a lot of rappers can make a comeback like after a while. So it's just like you can fall off, but there's always time to make a comeback later on in your career. So then again, Father Time, undefeated.
What I'm gonna say is, I think it's kind of half and half. I think I think if you're an older rapper, but you take your time and people respect you, like if you look at Fabulous has been rapping since the early 2000s, but like he switched up his sound a lot, and he kind of like takes strategic breaks. It's kind of like the same thing with Jay-Z, where like each album sounds different. So I think as long as you like diversify your sound and you're not sounding the same, you can last a little bit longer. But like on the other flip side, there are people that can't really do it. Like LL Cool J, like back in the day, great rapper. Now, I mean, he's not a bad rapper now, but the way he raps, it just sounds dated. And I feel like that's a big part of rap. I think it's just not sounding dated. Because I remember like earlier this year, like back in the day, T-Pain and Lil Wayne had a project that never came out, and then T-Pain leaked some of the songs. And I remember I listened to some of those songs and I was like, yeah, this does sound like '08, or this does sound like '09. Not like it was terrible, but in a way that just kind of like, it just sounded really dated, Just like if you ever hear like old Drake, like '09 Drake, 2010 Drake, which probably is my favorite Drake, but that's old Drake because it sounds dated, and the beat and the way that he's rapping sounds a little bit dated because people don't rap like that anymore. It's kind of like the same thing. I think
you gotta stay trending.
Yeah, you gotta stay trending. And I think you just have to you have to adapt or you have to budge just a little bit. Like I think you can stay in your lane. Like Jay-Z doesn't really rap any different than he used to rap long ago. But I think the thing about Jay-Z is that he just knows how to pivot a little bit more. Like it's still the same, but like it's with a little bit of edge, you know? So I think
Mhm.
that's the key to longevity. I think it's that. And I also think sometimes you just have to rebrand yourself. Like if you look at 2 Chainz, his name was Titty Boy at first. Like, you know, like and he was like with Rapper Circle and all this other shit. And
Player
then like
circle.
my bad. Correction, Player Circle. But like, you know, then he came back as 2 Chainz and he changed his sound. So I think a lot of it is just branding and I think it's just learning how to alter your sound.
Yeah. One thing that I think that we didn't like touch on was like there are like special cases because I know how Jay you brought up like Kendrick and J. Cole and Lil Wayne and Jay-Z. Like they are special cases because during their run, they built large, loyal fan bases that like will always check for them. So they have that luxury of like taking 2 to 3 years off. But other rappers, they have to constantly like keep putting out music just to, just to keep their like names fresh in our head. Like Kendrick hasn't dropped in like 2 years, but when he drops, we will all wait and like give it a chance to listen. But other rappers, when they drop, we probably won't care to even like check it out, you know?
Exactly. Yeah, rappers got to do what they can to stay relevant. It's all about staying relevant to stay on top in the rap game. So you got to come up with different things to mix it up. You got to find new artists to be featured on songs with on your albums. You can't. Oh, you got to always find like new artists on your features, and just being able to switch up your flow keeps you relevant. Certain rappers are popular, but they can't switch up their flow, like the Baby or some shit like that. He's good. I fuck with the Baby, but he don't switch it up. Certain
Yeah,
rappers don't so
he
certain rappers don't switch up their flow, but I still listen to their music. But it's like it's what I expect. Like
it
their
blows me
album's gonna
though.
be what I expect.
I'm not gonna lie, it blows me. The Baby is one of those rappers he's actually like pretty good, but when he uses the same flow, it's just kind of like and it actually doesn't sound bad on the song, but you just get so tired of hearing it, it just makes you
Hmm.
not want to listen to him.
So it
Yeah,
feels like you can give the Baby 2 or 3 more years tops, and then people might start listening to him. Then if he keeps that up.
Not even that. I would say less than that because look at Fetty Wap. Fetty Wap when he first came out, all his songs were a little bit different, but they're still kind of cool. And then like he came out with one song and kept doing the same shit, and now where's Fetty Wap? Like
Damn, I forgot about Fetty Wap.
I did
That's
too.
crazy. That's crazy. Because he was on top of the world. Remember, well, back in our college, like everybody loved Fetty, especially all of the like white people and black people. Like they just love Fetty Wap so much. But then, very next school year, crickets. Never heard from him again.
Yeah,
yeah,
he was
that
kind
was
of like a 1 year wonder. He had like
he said 1 year one.
a 1 year wonder. He had like 1 year where he was just the shit. Everybody fucked with him. After that, he fell off.
Yeah, that was the most OC fall off I. But like I said, that's just because he literally every one of his songs after that literally sounded the same, and I was like,
Thanks.
And a good comparison is that Post Malone came out around that like same time as Fetty, but notice how Post kept switching his shit up and like innovating his sound, and he stayed relevant much longer than Fetty, and like that's a good parallel right there to like show what happens when like you like stick to the same formula.
Mhm.
that's true because I can't really say Post Malone songs sound the same at all. They all sound different.
You
Yeah.
don't.
And another thing artists like always should be aware of like is like when you're hyped and like you have a lot of people like hyping you up at that time, you got to put out some shit like in a decent period of time. You can't wait too late to release your second album when everybody's hyping up your first album. Like Bryson Tiller is a perfect example of that. Like everybody was loved his first album that he dropped, then he kind of like waited way too late to drop his second album. So then people kind of lost interest. He lost interest in him, so he lost his relevancy, and then like nobody really gave a fuck about his second album. I liked the second album and I thought it was good, but he had waited so late to put it out. And he blamed that on his team, but like who knows what happened there. But like another thing, that's the main
Mm.
thing with artists. You can't wait too late to put out your second album if your first album was that great.
I agree, but I think the second. Well, matter of fact, that's a topic we're getting another day. It's the second album jinx, but
Hmm.
I think that played. I think a lot of times artists they put out the first album, it gets great reception, and that second album, I think most artists don't know how to follow up with a good second album,
That's
honestly.
true. That's true.
But any closing thoughts from you guys?
My closing thought is that your age isn't a factor, it's your style, your like, frequency of your output, and how trendy you can be throughout all those years.
I would say age ain't nothing but a number, except when it comes to the rap game and then when it comes to sports. Father Time is undefeated in both of those. So it's like that you're eventually gonna hit your peak and then you're gonna take a fall from that peak. So it happens to the best of us, happens to everybody. So that's just a part of the game. So you got to just do what you can to stay relevant and maximize the time that you have until you fall off your peak.
My closing thought is that it's kind of like what D and J were saying. I think rap definitely has an age limit, but I think if honestly you're doing it for the passion, you can last longer. Because the people who don't do it for the passion, these are the people who do it for 1 year. They do it, they hate it, they stop it. But the people who actually really have a passion for it and pay attention to their craft, like Nas and Jay-Z and all that other stuff, you can last long. You just have to be strategic about it. But this has been your boy T,
This has been your boy D.
Just been your boy Jay.
and we are out. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.